All right, welcome. We are ready to get started, and we have nutrition coaches from all over the world on this call. So if you're catching this on a rerun rerun, repeat, please feel free to type any questions you have in the comments here on Facebook. And if you are here with us live, feel free to type in any questions that you have as I'm presenting, and any of these other coaches can definitely answer those questions there in the comments. And of course, we'll be answering questions as we go as well. Super excited for our lineup this evening, and super excited for the content. So let's get rocking and rolling and talk about behavior change and why it's so hard, right? Like the little girl here. And anytime that we're looking at a nutritional intervention strategy, or anytime we want to take the shark by the gills and really start to take our health in our own hands, we tend to have to deal with what's called cognitive distortions. And there's two cognitive distortions that I am going to talk about. And these come from Dr. Braden Brown. He's the one that he did a presentation with us several months ago on these cognitive distortions. He was a former NFL Browns player, and he is now a physician behaviorist right here at IU School of Medicine. So these tend to be the two cognitive distortions that we deal with the most in nutritional intervention. Number one would be all or nothing thinking. I call this Monday morning thinking, okay? We all know what goes on the weekends. So we wake up Monday morning, we say, you know what? I'm gonna cut this out, I'm gonna cut that out, I'm gonna cut carbs out, I'm cutting all processed foods out, I'm gonna have nothing but greens. That's it. I'm going vegan, or I'm going plant-based, or whatever it might be. I'm gonna eat nothing but ice cubes. So all or nothing thinking. That tends to be one of the biggest cognitive distortions that we allow to get in our way in nutrition. The second would be catastrophizing. So that would be the weekends, all right? So we're eating our greens, we're eating like a rabbit Monday through Thursday. Friday comes around, we go out and we have a beer and maybe a chicken wings with our friends, and then we just say, you know what? Forget it. I'm just gonna go all in and just order up the nachos and forget it. I've already ruined everything. So that'd be the equivalent of if you're on your way to Florida for a vacation, you blow out your tire. That would be the equivalent of just slashing the other three tires. Because hey, you blew out one, we might as well just slash them all. So you're probably resonating. Some of these, the cognitive distortions are probably resonating. You're probably like, oh yeah, that's kind of me. I know even myself, I have those issues. Like, you know, Monday morning, I'm all motivated, and then Saturday hits. So we want to make sure that we have a good balanced approach. So let's talk about how we can make that happen. Like, okay, what do we do now? You're right, Jesse. Those are some cognitive distortions that I am battling with daily or weekly. What can I do about it? So behavior change, it is absolutely possible. And this is why diets don't work. And you're going to hear from Erica about her nutritional intervention strategy where she lost 60 pounds. And that's great, but she kept it off. So how do I know that diets don't work? Well, you're never going to see a biggest loser reunion. Why? Because they all gain the weight back. The studies on this are very conclusive. 95% of people after 5 years of losing significant weight will have gained it back. Why? Because the habits and the behavior was never addressed. Okay, so the only thing that was addressed was the physiology of SARS, what they were putting in their body. But the second they were taken out of that environment, like in The Biggest Loser, the second they're taking out of the environment with trainers whipping at them and, you know, cooks cooking for them, they didn't change their behavior. All right, so we're going to talk about some amazing ways that we can actually change and program our left brain for success nutritionally. So it's going to start with, who am I? Instead of having goal statements, which goals are great, especially when we set them up smartly, we want to look at identity statements. Identity statements are statements that the left brain will do subconsciously because it's gathered so much evidence. So for example, I am a mom. If you have kids and you identify as a mom or as a dad, you're going to get up at 3 a.m. to change that poopy diaper no matter how you feel, no matter what. It's just going to become automatically. You hear that crying, you're out of bed, and you make it happen. Maybe reluctantly so, but you make it happen. Why? Because you identify, I am a healthy mom or I am a healthy father. So another identity statement would be, I am an active person who likes a physical challenge. or I am a lifter. People that say I am a lifter, they constantly produce evidence for their left brain that they lift. I mean, some of them, it's tough to get them to even take a day off from the gym because they want to reinforce that identity. Same thing with runners. Getting runners to sometimes rest can be really tough because they are identifying as I am a runner. People who say I am a non-smoker who used to smoke are 3 times more likely to not relapse in smoking than if they were to say, well, I'm trying to quit. Okay, so if anyone ever gave up smoking and they're still saying, hey, I'm trying to quit, they haven't quite trained their brain as being a non-smoker. So if they have the identity statement, I am a non-smoker, they're again 3 times more likely to succeed in that endeavor. So it's the difference between saying I want to run a 5K, I want to lose 30 pounds, to I am. So your I am statement is huge. So once we've established that I am statement, so the I am statement that we would suggest for you is I am a healthy person. Okay, great. Now you have your right brain. Your right brain's your cheerleader. Your right brain loves you. It wants you to go and take on the world. Your right brain's always going to be your cheerleader, always loves you and always encouraging you. Your left brain deals in evidence. All your left brain cares about is show me the evidence. It's like the judge and jury. All right. So when we say I am a healthy person, the left brain is saying like, prove it. What do you mean you're a healthy person? So we have had 3 what we call identity trackers, okay, that will prove to your left brain and reinforce the identity of I am a healthy person. So before we get into those 3 trackers, let's talk about tracking in general. So 78% of NFL players go bankrupt after retiring because they do not track their finances. Lotto winners, same thing. This is from the book Atomic Habits, written by James Clear. Amazing data in that book on tracking. They did a study of over 1,600 people. They put them through a nutrition seminar, similar to what you're going through right now. They said, you 800, write everything down after the seminar. You 800, go out and just apply what you learned. The 800 that wrote down what they ate, okay, they didn't eat any necessarily different than anyone else, but they wrote it down. They saw 4 times more weight loss than the other group. And they both had the same level of education. So tracking is the only way to deliver accurate awareness and in-the-moment feedback. Experts all agree. Tracking also helps us overcome our blindness to the truth. Very, very powerful there as far as that goes. When I was proving this for myself, we went on 2 cruises. Now, when we go on cruises, it's all in. We're there to have a good time. We're not there to, you know, get ripped or whatever. So on these 2 cruises, the first cruise, 7 days, I ate on average 6,500 calories a day. Yeah, right. Not pretty, but like I say, we're there to have a great time. On that cruise, I tracked the next day. So I'd eat everything, and then the next day I would track, okay? On another cruise, 7 days, and we did this a few months later, I ate 4,500 calories. I didn't feel like I was eating any less. The difference was I tracked in real time. So basically, the cruise where I was eating the 6,500 calories, not tracking in real time, I had a lot of blindness to the truth. Where the cruise that I tracked in real time, my brain immediately had the data, and it just told me. I didn't have to sacrifice. It was just like, you've already had 4 cookies, where you don't need 8. Where the other cruise where I tracked the next day, I'd eat 10 and then track it the next day. So overcoming our blindness and being real with ourselves. So when we're pouring that drink and we're like, glug, 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 it's an ounce, that's being blind to the truth. When we measure that and we optimize what we measure, where the focus goes, the energy flows. So when I actually measure, I'm like, oh, okay, 2 ounces. 2 ounce pour is plenty, as opposed to glug, 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 and then lying to myself and saying, it's a couple ounces. Big, big difference, and that's why we stress tracking so much. Tracking also makes us feel like a winner. It's an action that reinforces our behavior. All right, so back to you. I am a healthy person. There are 3 identity habits that are going to reinforce that to the left brain. The first is tracking. That tells you, I know what I'm putting in my body. I'm a healthy person. Why? My left brain says, prove it, because I know what I'm putting in my body. My left brain says, oh, Okay, yeah, that is an action of a healthy person, and it will let that in. Second, I know about how much. So sometimes I measure more closely than ever, than others, but now that's another set of evidence for my left brain. Well, how do you know I'm a healthy person? Because I know what I'm putting in my body and about how much. And then lastly, I know my boundaries. I know how many calories, protein, carbohydrates, and fats that I need to reach my goal. All right, so that's what a great coach will help you determine is your boundaries. So any of the coaches that invited you onto today's call can help you find out what those boundaries are. That doesn't mean that you're empowered. You can go over those boundaries sometime, but you know, and you're empowered, and your left brain's like, oh, okay, all right, you're going over the boundaries. You're probably going to put some weight on, but it makes sense. It's very logical to the left brain. So it will continue to subconsciously protect your identity of being a healthy person when you know what you put in your body, about how much, and what your boundaries are. So second would be awareness. So tracking makes you aware. So I always love the healthy meals out there that when you really are aware, you may decide, well, yeah, that is made of healthy ingredients, but the amounts may not be the most healthy amount. So I love the 9 ounces of Atlantic salmon, 150 grams avocados, 100-gram red pepper, 3 tablespoons extra virgin olive oil. This has more calories and fat than most of us might need in a day. Okay, I know that fat at 95.8, that's nearly double what my boundary for fat would be in a day. Does that make this an unhealthy meal? Absolutely not. It's made of very much healthy ingredients, but when we have that awareness. Another big awareness piece that we get, and our left brain gets as far as evidence when we're tracking, is say a Starbucks protein bowl. Maybe your doctor said, hey, you need to eat more protein, or your trainer or your coach has said, maybe eat more protein. You read an article. So you go to Starbucks and you buy, hey, I'll buy the protein bowl. And you buy the protein bowl, and then when you really look at it, it's up to 80% non-protein, fat and sugar. Nothing wrong with Starbucks protein bowls. Nothing unhealthy about them. But when you're buying something labeled as protein bowl, you have an expectation that there's actually protein in it. A glass of skim milk or a cup of skim milk is another great one. My grandma used to say, drink your skim milk or drink your fat-free milk for the protein. Well, yes, it has protein in it, but it's majority sugar that I'm drinking. It's majority carbohydrate that I'm drinking, about 60%. So does that mean that it's bad? No, not by any means, but by us being aware of what we're putting in our body, we can then be empowered to make the right decisions so that when we want to eat more protein, or we want to eat more dietary fiber, or we want to eat more micronutrients, we actually know where those foods come from. So this, the other thing is identifying our why. A lot of times we talk about our what. We say, hey, I want to lose weight. I want to run a 5K. I want to get in shape for the summer. Those are, do you notice how easy those things are to say? But when we peel that onion away and we say, well, why? Well, that's when we start to get more to the nitty gritty, right? Well, why do I want to lose weight? Well, you know, I'm really scared of this blood work, you know. Another thing is I was chasing around my nieces and nephews the other day, and, you know, I just wasn't, I was out of breath. I felt embarrassed, okay? When we get into that why, we start to get into that nitty gritty, okay? So we talk about sustainable weight loss, okay? We want this to last forever. And Eric is going to talk about, you know, fat loss forever, how she kept her 60 pounds off going on 6-7 years now. And then the third thing, to take it one step further, is whom. Whom benefits from you being a healthy person? So say you say, hey, I want to be a healthy mom. I want to be a healthy dad. I am a healthy person. We start tracking. Why do you want to be a healthy person? Well, I want to keep up with my kids. I want to be a healthy example for them. Great. So who else benefits from you getting healthier? Your kids do. Maybe your coworkers do. Maybe those around you do. Maybe your church group does. So as you level up your health and fitness, who else does that benefit around you? And that can be a huge motivator. I think a lot of us would agree, who are on this seminar right now or on this training, would agree that, you know, sometimes we don't always want to do things for ourselves. Self-care is hard. but we would literally take a bullet for those we love or our neighbors, you know, so we tend to do things for other people. You know, if I get a fridge delivered, it might sit in my garage forever until I finally have to cart it inside. Where if my neighbor's like, hey, can you help me move this fridge? I'm strapping up over at the neighbor's house. That just happened the other day, and I'm enthusiastic to help. So our brains are kind of wired for contribution. That gives us joy. So when we do things that benefit other people, we tend to stick with them. So always remember who else benefits from you leveling up your health. Forming your habits. So if you're tuning into this live right now, this is a nugget of information that you can literally apply today. All right. So when we were going through and implementing our habit training that we have in our level 1 nutrition certification course, we have a whole habit formation portion. A lot of it is based off several seminars and books that we've read over the years on how to properly form a habit. These are kind of the top 4 things that we want to do to make a habit. So say that you're like, all right, I want to start tracking my food, but I've never done it before, and I don't want to just do it for 3 days and then fail at it, right? Awesome. Yes, we got to work on that left brain. We got to create that evidence, right? So say that you want to form a habit of tracking your food or keeping a food log. Number 1, make it obvious. What does that mean? Put that food log on top of your shoes. Okay, that's called habit stacking. You know you're going to put your shoes on every single day. So before you go to put those shoes on, and when you roll out of bed, your food log is sitting right there, or maybe it's your phone. If you're using an app on your phone, we have the Macro Missionary tracking app that you can go to the iTunes store and get. However you're tracking, put it right on your shoes, and those shoes don't come on until you track that food. So that is, again, called habit stacking. It's taking a reliable routine that's already ingrained in your head that you're guaranteed to do, and then adding a new routine that you want to stack on top of that, okay? So your brain doesn't have to think about it. It just says, oh, I'm putting my shoes on, there's the log, and then you go and you'll go ahead and log your food. Make it attractive. So what I like to do is I use this big oversized calendar. And when I was proving this for myself, because the habit I wanted to form was running, okay? So make it attractive. I would put a big X on the calendar every day I ran. And it was really cool. I'd get to like 4 X's in a row, and that would be my trend. And then maybe I'd take a day off, or it was lazy a day, but then I'd make, okay, my best is 4 X's in a row, and I'm gonna go for 5. And it just kept it new, it kept it exciting, it kept it competitive for me. So set up that award system where it's visual. Could be marbles in a jar. Okay, where every time you run, you put an extra marble in the jar. Make it easy. Don't use an app if technology is not your game. I mean, maybe over time you can learn an app that's great. Make it easy. You want to use sticky notes? Use sticky notes. You want to use old-fashioned pen and paper? Whatever it is. You want to track on your hand? No problem, okay? Just carry a pen in your pocket, put it on top of your shoes, and track your food on your hand, okay? However, it's going to be easy, so make it easy. Make it satisfying. So each time you track your food, say, I am a healthy person. I know what I'm putting in my body. I know about how much of it I'm putting in, and I know where my boundaries are. Okay, so exclaim that, and your left brain will say, yes, you are a healthy person. Why? Because you're doing actions daily, consistently daily, that reaffirm that identity. So with the inverse, maybe you're like, okay, I can track, or maybe you already are tracking, but you want to get rid of a habit. So a habit that I wanted to get rid of was drinking beer during the week, okay? We are really into craft beer, which tends to be the higher calorie beer. You know, Tuesday, Wednesday come around, oh, we want to have a few, you know, why not, relax. But we wanted to get rid of that habit. So we had to do an inverse of this. So what we did is we make it unobvious. So we took the beer and we put it in the basement. Didn't get rid of it, didn't pour it down the drain, just put it in the basement. Out of sight, out of mind. Make it unattractive. Now here, every time during the weekday, during a school night, as I'd call it, that I drank beer, I would put an X on the calendar. It was like the walk of shame. I didn't want to see 2 X's ever in a row. I didn't want to see X's on weekdays, period. And my goal was to go a whole month, no X's on a weekday. And then I was able to do that. And then 2 months, and then 3 months. So it became kind of like a fun game. So make it unattractive. Make it hard. All right. We are innately lazy. And I don't say this to offend anyone. It's just how we're built. So what we did with the beer is not only do we put it downstairs, we put it in the furthest corner of the stair. And I would remember it there, and I'd be like, it'd be a Thursday night, I'd be like, maybe I just won't have beer Friday or Saturday, but I'll have one today. And then I'll remember, it's all the way downstairs in the corner. Forget it. Yes, I was that lazy, okay? And we all are. Try it. This stuff works. And then the icing on the cake is make it not satisfying. So instead of buying the beer cold, I'd buy it at room temperature. And even on days where I was feeling like extra frosty, and I would go downstairs, and I'd go to the corner, I'd pick the beer up, and I'd be like, it's going to be at least an hour to cool this beer. I want to be in bed by then. Forget it, you know? And it worked like clockwork because it was unattractive. No one's drinking warm beer. So just like we can use these four ways to make new habits and forge new habits in our subroutines, we can do the inverse of these to get rid of old habits or habits that we want to get rid of. Cultivating a growth mindset. So that's huge. Instead of saying, I am not a healthy person, say I'm striving to become a healthy person. That would be the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset. All right. So a lot of people say, I'm not good at technology. Hey, I am willing to learn technology. I am excited to learn technology. So just kind of the way we talk to ourselves and the power of yet. We tend to speak to ourselves negatively. I can't do this. If you just put a yet after a negative statement, it completely can change the trajectory of your day. This doesn't work yet. I don't know how to yet. It doesn't make sense to me yet. I don't get it yet. I'm not good at this yet. So that is the power of yet. If you ever find yourself speaking negatively to yourself, attach the word yet and then create evidence that you're striving to grow. Exercise your growth mindset to that. And then, of course, practicing self-compassion. This goes with that all or nothing, the go big, go home nonsense. No, we need to love ourselves. We are human. Again, I mentioned knowing our boundaries. We exceed our boundaries all the time, or not all the time, but yeah, we exceed our boundaries, but we're empowered to do that. We are human. We're going to make mistakes. We need to love the person that we're looking at in the mirror regardless. We are the most important person that we talk to every day. So that's that power of yet. Understand that there's going to be ups and downs, but if you have that solid I am statement, you have a solid why and a solid for who, and then you're creating evidence to those statements daily by tracking your food, knowing what you're putting in your body, about how much you're putting in your body, and where your boundaries are. You'll never have to obtain these great goals. You'll never have to climb Mount Fuji to love yourself. You'll love yourself every day because you're constantly producing evidence every single day. So if you have any questions, if you're catching this on a rerun, just you can type them in the comments there. We're now going to move into our next speaker, Erica Dale, and she's going to get into the nitty gritty. She's going to talk about how she got the weight off, and she used 2 different strategies, how she got the weight off, 60 pounds, and how she kept it off. So looking forward to getting on with Erica. Erica Dale, she has a vast amount of knowledge, as you're seeing here, Master of School Counseling. She's actually midway, actually probably more like 75% through her PhD in holistic nutrition and countless awards at various companies. She's a guest speaker, travels around the world for that, and has an amazing journey herself. So we're going to kind of do an interview with her. But Erica, if you want to kind of start with what your fat loss journey or health-driven journey was kind of like.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually was your typical yo-yo dieter. If any of you guys can relate to that, I went to college and never really had to worry about weight, right? All through high school, I mean, I just kind of did my thing. I was super active. I was an athlete. And then I got to college, and although I was still a college athlete, I found fast food. I found drinking alcohol. I found 3 a.m. feedings. And it was just this entire new world that I had never been a part of. And I didn't just gain the freshman 15. I gained freshman 45, if that's even a thing. And I just struggled with my weight for the rest of my college career. And then upon leaving, I didn't know what to do. I was, trying to get into the workforce. I was uncomfortable. I was unhealthy. I didn't have energy. And I tried all of the things, right? So the quick fixes, the fads, the pills, the diets, and I would lose weight, right? Because anytime you restrict calories, you're going to lose weight. But then I would put it right back on the second I returned to normalcy. And so I tell people I lost 100 pounds after college, and they're like, what, 100 pounds? You don't have 100 pounds to lose. And I said, yeah, I lost 10 pounds 10 different times, right? So I would lose 10, gain 10, lose 10, gain 15. And it was just this cycle for years. And then I finally, in 2012, to be honest with you, I think my why that Jesse was kind of talking about, my why became so much more important, became so much more just deep inside of me. And it really stemmed down to, I knew at 28 years old, I was unhealthy. I had to take naps in order to function in the evenings. And it just wasn't something, I didn't want to continue life that way. So I lost 60 pounds in 2012. But what allowed me to keep it off was finding, educating myself about nutrition, finding what we call macronutrition, learning that I could still enjoy the foods I loved. I could still go out and have a few drinks with friends. I could still go to my niece's birthday party and eat the cake and not be the outcast in the corner of the room that's like, oh, I can't eat that, right? That's bad. That's going to make me gain weight. And once I learned those principles, once I understood those things, life just completely changed. So I lost my 60 pounds, you guys, on a way that I wouldn't recommend. It was not fun. I literally ate the same meals every other day, but I was tracking them. I knew how much I was putting in my body. So all of those things that Jesse talked about, being aware, being accountable, those are the principles that helped me to lose that weight. But ultimately after that, it was allowing myself to create that lifestyle. And now here we are in 2020. And you can see in that picture, I no longer weigh what I weighed when I lost 60 pounds, but I feel better. I look better. I'm healthier. I'm more active. And again, I'm not restricting myself from any one type of food.
So I love the slide that you have up here as far as like all the different things that you hear and the nonsense. And it's like literally at the end of the day, you're allowed to eat like a cup of ice cubes. It's like we all agree, like you can eat ice cubes. So I'm noticing in your pictures here that there was a difference in diet strategies, or correct me if I'm wrong, but what was the diet strategy that got you from the 170 to 113? And then what strategy, was it a different strategy you used to get from the 113 to the 122?
Yeah, definitely. So to the 60 pound loss, it was just that. I mean, you guys, I had a meal plan that said, eat this at this time, eat this at this time, eat this at this time. And again, it was proportioned correctly. I was eating less calories, and that's just science. If you eat less calories than you burn, you will lose weight. But I want to hinder on that word weight, right? It doesn't necessarily mean you're losing all fat. And one thing that we teach and our coaches teach is we don't want you to just lose weight, right? Jesse always says this, and it's comical, but if you cut off your leg, you're gonna lose weight. But that's not what we want, right? What we really want is to lose body fat. And so that is what we help teach our coaches, our business builders. So you guys can get in touch with anyone that's shown you this video, because we want you to lose weight, lose body fat in the proper proportions.
So was there a difference in, say, performance and strength between this middle picture and the picture here on the right?
Absolutely. So that middle picture, I mean, I was working out. I was getting into the gym. I had a personal trainer, and she was phenomenal. She did not do my nutrition. She just focused on our training. And I was weight training, but I was a weakling. I was 113 pounds. I don't even know that I was deadlifting back then, but I was definitely just a little string bean, right? And then at 122, I don't think it was this exact year, but at one point at 125, I pulled a 300-pound deadlift.
Wow.
I've had insane just strength and progress in the strength, even at that leaner body weight and the lower body fat.
So what I'm hearing is from 170 to 113, there was just, okay, we cut calories, like Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, whatever it may be. What was the difference in education and knowledge? Like, what did you learn that pieced, this physique to this physique?
Yeah, and that's a really cool thing. Like, I think that that is probably the most important. Diets. We say diets don't work, right? And that's false. Diets work. Diets will help you lose weight, like we said, if you're restricting your calories, but at what cost? And so one of the things I learned, not only that I could eat the foods I love, but that if I was nourishing my body properly and then allowing myself to kind of feed my soul, that's kind of what we talk about. Getting in the right amount of protein was probably the biggest thing. I think a lot of people, we talk about this, a lot of people say, I don't eat enough. And that's just not the case. And I'm not here to be degrading to any of you if you've ever said that. I used to say that. But what it is you're still eating enough. You're eating more calories than your body needs. That's why you're not losing weight. But you're eating foods that are not as nutritious. And so therefore you may be eating smaller portions, but they're higher calories. And so you feel like you're not eating enough, but really you're just not eating enough of the proper proportions of the protein, carbs, and fat.
Sure. So from what I'm hearing is in this picture where you're 122, and I think that, not to put words in your mouth, but the 122 is more your desired look, correct?
100%. Yeah. And I mean, this picture here, I was working toward a bodybuilding show, but just being lean, but still having energy, having the look. But you guys, at the end of the day, for me, and I know for Jesse as well, one thing we've learned as we've gotten older is the energy, the way you feel, the way you wake up in the morning, the way you are able to go throughout your day is vastly important. But we can have that and still have that desired look too.
So at 113, you probably weren't eating enough protein, enough micronutrients to have the desired feel, performance, and look that you ultimately wanted.
Yeah, for sure. And even then, I mean, and I tell this too, especially as a woman, and if you women are looking and watching this, what you desire is what you desire, right? No one should tell you differently. But I will be honest with you, I was the lightest I'd ever been. 113 was less than what I weighed in high school. And I remember taking that photo shoot. I remember that date in 2013. It was October in Pennsylvania. It was freezing, but I was miserable. I put on this bikini and I lost 60 pounds, and you would think it would be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I was uncomfortable. I didn't like the way my body looked, but I didn't understand it. And so it wasn't until I started progressing toward just learning about how to properly eat, how to properly fuel my body, still enjoy the foods I love, right? I don't give up food. I don't give up the things I like, but to create more of that desired look while still having, again, like the energy and the strength.
Yeah, awesome. So just a few more questions from for some of the listeners here. As far as what about supplements? Where did supplements come into play with all of this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I think that a lot of times we fall victim to, you have to supplement in order to lose weight or to get that desired look. And, supplements do play a very vital role, the right ones. And I didn't understand that. In fact, I was that victim, right? I probably was spending hundreds of dollars on product that probably just gave me expensive pee that I probably didn't really need. So what we recommend is just following the science. We don't follow the sex appeal or the money or the professional athletes that are telling you to take these things. Some of those are good, but majority of them, they're getting paid to market that to you. So just remember that. But about 4.5 years ago, we found a product called ProTandem. It's what activates the body. It activates a pathway in the body that slows down as we age. And so this product has, one, it's allowed me to just increase my energy, my mood, have better sleep, which we all know is vital to all aspects of life, but fat loss too, right? If you're not getting the right amount of sleep, your body's not going to function the way it should. But then also on top of that, you know, a good fish oil. Any doctor is going to tell you fish oil is good for you, especially with the way that our world is, our environment is, the foods that we eat. We're just not getting the amount of EPA, DHA that we need in our bodies.
Sure.
And then also I would say a good probiotic and prebiotic. And, you know, our coaches have endless amount of material and education they can send you guys. They can help you understand these things. But again, I just urge people to follow the science and to truly spend money on what their body actually needs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what would be we're down to our last two questions. What's a take home? So I'm watching this right now, you know, and regardless of what picture resonates with me or how my feel is, what is the number one nutrition tip that where is the missing gap that you find in most people's nutrition program that can be plugged like today?
Yeah, that's great. I think the big issue is just like that picture you put up, right? Don't eat this, eat this. Nope, now don't eat this. Now I'll eat this. And it's ever changing, right? This was 2019, 2020 probably says, well, now protein's good and carbs are good and fats are bad. And it's just always changing. And it's like, how in the world is society supposed to actually get results with this ever changing, ever inundated information? And so what I would tell you guys is it's very simple, right? In order to lose fat, you don't need to you know, buy a food scale, right? Can this be a benefit? Absolutely. I weigh my food, I track my food, but it's not a necessity to get you the results. So the biggest thing I would tell you that you can start today is start tracking your food. And that doesn't mean you have to put it in an app. It doesn't mean you have to track and weigh and cut your peas in half to be precise, right? I mean, Jesse and I, we eyeball things a lot, especially when we're going out to eat or we have company over, or, you know, if we have like a fun treat, like I bought us these crazy cookies the other day and we're like, how many calories do you think those were? We still track them, right? We still put them into our daily tracking. And so we're aware. So we can't get to, you know, Saturday or Sunday and step on that scale and be like, oh, the scale's broken. And no, remember that cookie you ate. Remember that you ate. That's going to affect your weekly average. But it's kind of like tracking your spending, right? Nobody balances a checkbook anymore. We have online banking. But guys, have you ever looked at your bank account or your credit card statement and you're like, what in the world? How is it this amount? How is this? What did I spend that on that? But if you were writing that down in the moment, like Jesse was saying, you know, with his two different cruises, you're going to spend less. And it is the same thing with your food intake. If you just write it down, don't worry about what you're eating. Don't worry about the amount you're eating. Just write it down. You will eat less. It's just the power of the mind and what you're putting in it.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, you know, there's no cure-all or magic macronutrient, but would you say your protein intake was probably double from 113 to 122 when you truly started tracking? I know that you felt like when we met, yeah, I mean, good amount of protein. You were doing a shake at the time. The company you work with now has an awesome shake, a whey protein shake. But, you know, what did you find was really the difference when you started tracking your protein intake?
Yeah, definitely it was way higher. And ladies, I know a lot of us struggle with getting in that protein. So don't think like, oh, she must be eating, you know, 200 to 300 grams of protein. That's all she's ever eating. My protein is still relatively low because we just don't need a ton, right? And Jesse can kind of, can give us a little bit more data on that. But when you're eating a little bit more protein and you're still staying in a certain caloric intake, you're then just going to eat less carbs and fat, right? It's just kind of how it all balances out. But the protein it helps you to lose body fat, eating a little bit more of it with the thermogenic effect of protein. And it does help you to stay fuller longer and just all kinds of things. So I would say you're probably right on the money. I was probably double from losing the 60 pounds to then starting to add muscle, starting to recomposition my body. And the other thing too, I wanted to add on the protein is a lot of times we think we're eating protein, but as we become more and more aware about food, we really learn that, hey, that hamburger that I just got eating out was probably majority fat. There's some protein in there, don't get me wrong, but when you start to become more and more educated and aware about your food sources, it really helps you to really kind of get into that nitty gritty.
Yeah, and to kind of, we're getting a lot of questions typed in as far as how much protein do I need, things of that nature. So pretty much the protein recommendations, the RDA is 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. And that's probably where Erica was right around here. For her, that was probably around 45 grams. And then the data and the meta-analysis studies go all the way up to 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight, which for Erica, that was, well, roughly double. So around 90 to 100 grams here in this picture too. Now, we have Eric. He's one of the several coaches that are on the call as well. I know for him, he does more than 3-4 times the government RDA. He just loves protein. It meets his lifestyle. It meets his palate. So one of our coaches can definitely help zero in that macronutrient, do the math for you, but it's ultimately going to be what is sustainable. And I feel like Erica right now, like around the 90 to 100 grams is pretty sustainable for you. You can do that in your sleep. It's not like a big, like, oh my gosh, I got to drink 4 shakes a day or anything like that.
No, I'm not a shake person either, so that wouldn't work for me, for my palate. And that's what I love about just learning about foods, right? You understand you don't have to do protein shakes to get to your outlook, or you don't have to force feed yourself things that you don't really like. It's not necessary to get to the end game.
Yeah. So anywhere between 0.8 to 1.6 per kilogram of body weight. We've done entire seminars on just the macronutrient of protein. So you can definitely go outside of those recommendations. If you're an endurance athlete, your protein needs are actually higher than if you're just weight training. So if you're doing a lot of endurance events. But no, this has been awesome. You can type, if you're watching this Facebook Live, you can type any questions you have in the comments. But to take this thing home, and Erica, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to leave you with these 4 things. If you're looking to start a nutritional intervention program, definitely talk to the coach who invited you on this call. They are going to be a wealth of knowledge for you. But these 4 things is refocus your attention. So sometimes you're going to have to refocus your attention on X, Y, and Z and focus it on your health. Number 2 is reveal your struggle. We have coaches within our network that they're struggling. We all struggle on our health-driven journey. So reveal that struggle. Don't keep it a secret, and that will have a powerful therapeutic effect. Number 3, admit your vulnerability. Again, we have a Mr. Wisconsin on this call who is dealing with a surgery. He's Mr. Wisconsin, and now he can't move his arm, and he's in a tough place. He's very vulnerable, but he dials into his network. He dials into people that support him, and he admits that vulnerability, and together we're helping him through that time. And then lastly, resist those who resist you. We need to get around people who not only support us, but they support what we're doing. So when you're ready to take that plunge, whether it's hiring a coach or just taking your nutrition plan, the shark by the gills, if you will, resist those that resist you. Okay, there might be people that are resisting you. Oh, no, you don't need to level up. You're just fine. Resist those, again, who resist you. You are made for mass abundance and amazing health. So again, just feel free, if you're catching this on a replay, type any questions you have in the comments. Eric, I really appreciate you jumping on and sharing your story. You guys have a great rest of your day.